We are back on Taking Care of Business on Kern Radio, News Talk, 1180, 1230 KGEO, 1410 KERI, Albuquerque, New Mexico on 1000 KKIM, and across the nation on the Internet. So, Clay, what do you think of George Allen?
Oh, I think George is a really knowledgeable guy.
I like him.
He's no question about it. He was elected governor of Virginia.
And senator.
So, come on.
He had Thomas Jefferson's old seat in the House.
Well, you knew Thomas, if I remember.
Yeah, we went to school together. Anyways, excuse me. I owe an apology to our next guest. He was waiting out in the wings, and I didn't know he was out there. But Philip Peters is running for the Kern High School district as a trustee, and he's got a lot of endorsements from a lot of people that we agree with. Unfortunately, he's also endorsed by Tony Whitnack. I won't hold that against him. Just kidding, Tony. Just kidding. Tim Donnelly, Shannon Grove, Donna Youngblood. A whole list of people.
McCarthy, Valadeo, Videk. Well, you really got around.
Wow.
That's right. That's right.
Look at this list. But, the only two people missing from this list that I can see are Clay Koerner and Marty Pay. I mean, the list isn't complete without that.
Well, we got a few more weeks left. The mailer's getting ready to go out, so hopefully we can add your guys' name to
it. before the day is done.
That's right.
Huh? So you push yourself as a conservative. How would you be a conservative in this race versus some of the other people running?
Well, one of the other people that are running is a field rep for Letitia Perez, who's a pretty well-known Democrat supervisor here in town, and the other is backed by a lot of the unions here in town, as well as the Democrat Party. And as you can see from endorsements, I have some pretty strong Republican candidates that have done a lot of good for our county getting behind me. And personally, my main goal is to really push for vocational training. We're sending students to college, and less than half of the students that come out of high school are going to college, and less than half of those are graduating. And I basically think that, especially with Kern County being number one in oil and number 2 in ag, we could be serving our students a lot better by getting them ready to go out in the working world. And I think that my experience in private industry versus education and politics, the education and political experience of my opponents is gonna really help facilitate that for these students.
And I have to tell you, I teach one night a week for a university here in town.
Oh, perfect.
And on the second, and I've been teaching there a year and a half. In the second week of class, in every class I've taught, I've had to go over how to do the outline of how to do a paper.
Absolutely.
Because they're not learning those basic skills in high school.
That's right. And college route is good for some kids, and more power to them when they go that route. But if we're going to be preparing students for college, we need to do exactly that and get them prepared. When the majority of kids are having to go and take remedial classes, we're not serving our students well.
No. And you're not a big fan of the unions. They're not a big fan of you for some reason.
Yeah, that's I got a little bit of blowback from the Dolores Huerta Foundation. They had a debate that they hosted, which they said that we were all invited to, which isn't exactly true. But they were also putting it out there that some of the candidates didn't show up, myself included. And they're also in the process of suing the Kern High School district, which they failed to mention, over discriminatory policies, which is totally unbased. The policies in the district, I'll say, are they're very evenly applied across the board. They don't target any one group. But
what would be a vocational program that you would bring or try to bring to the district?
The main one I'd like to bring to the district is some type of oil field service or science training program, maybe in conjunction with some other of these oil companies in town, like Chevron or Era or Occidental Petroleum. We don't have a single oil field services program, and in the county that's number 1 in the nation for oil, I think that's unacceptable.
And give us your background a little bit. I mean, what qualifies you to be on the board?
Well, as I was saying, I think my opponents being in education and in politics, that's the background of most of the people on the board, and I think that the purpose of a board is to bring a little bit of varied experience there. And I myself come from the oil fields. I've worked in the oil fields all my life, on some farms and ranches here in the valley, and currently am the owner of Williams Cleaning Systems. We do wastewater recycling and other oil field and farm-related cleaning services. And so I think that's going to be some valuable information or valuable experience to bring to these kids to help kind of translate into an alternate path towards success.
I think the only qualification, I think you have to be 18 and a resident of the district. Isn't that about it?
A qualification for
to be on the school board?
Yes, sir.
That's it. You
Yeah,
just got to be 18 and a resident of the district, right?
Yes, sir.
Then you have to get so many signatures in order to run.
I think that you could go that route. You could petition to be on the ballot, but I went through the elections office and just filed paperwork. They had a deadline. I believe it was in toward the end of August that you had to file by. And
now, were you solicited to run for this office, or is this something that you decided to do on your own?
I had the idea kind of put into my head by Shannon Grove, because her and I were talking about students in the district and vocational training, and I've been trying to get involved with Young Republicans and a few other groups here locally, and I said, I didn't like the direction that we were going, and there was a lot more we could be doing for students. And she had mentioned that the school board to me, and which was something I hadn't really considered, getting into politics or running for an office myself. But I decided to jump into it, and I'm glad I did.
Phil, I have to tell you, I've just met you, but I've read a lot of material about you and everything, and I can't speak for Clay, just for myself, but I'm definitely going to vote for you come November.
I sure appreciate that. Hopefully all your listeners out there will do the same.
And you can put my name on that list.
I sure appreciate that.
I think it's going to be interesting. Anytime you're up against an incumbent, it's really tough. They just seem to have a natural attrition to be reelected again. And then you're blessed to have someone like Shannon behind you. She's been working throughout this state in Senate races, assembly races, local races. That girl, I don't know how she finds the time.
I agree. She's one of the hardest working officials we've got. Probably one of the hardest working public officials out there. She is constantly hitting it hard for all the people in her district.
We've got about 25 seconds left. If anybody wants to find out more about your campaign, Phil, who would they contact?
You can go to petersforschoolboard.com or look us up on Facebook. Just look up Philip Peters, KHSD Trustee. It's Kern High School District Trustee. And please message us or send us a comment with any questions you have, and I'll be glad to get in touch with you and help you in any way I can.
And Phil, again, you've got my vote, and we wish you the best of luck. And again, I apologize for the shortness of the time. We didn't know you were out there.
No worries. Thank you guys very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Best of luck.
Thanks.
We'll see you in 167 hours on Taking Care of Business on Kern Radio News Talk 1180.